week on Tuesday and Wednesday nights over on ESPNU, and I used to listen to him on Saturday, on Friday and Saturday nights, when Michigan
Mhm.
wasn't playing, fired up chips, and then those chip teams in the mid 2000s were really really good, and
Cool.
so not to bring the show down, but I thought
No,
it
that's
deserved
okay. Hey,
a
you know
mention.
what? You know what? Hey, sometimes in sports we have times we have to report tragedies and stuff. I know I've been watching ESPN on Instagram. They were talking about Stuart Scott. I mean, he's one of my all-time favorites, and
Yeah,
when he
that's
passed
true.
away from cancer, I mean, uh, it's that's the unfortunate part about being sports fans like we all are, and when you have tragedy, you got to like, hey, it happens, and it's one of those things that you just got to say, you know what, let's say it, let's get it out there, and say, hey, you know what, let's you hate to say this, but let's have this guy's memory still be out there. Let's not forget this guy,
Yeah,
not forget the
yeah,
team like Marshall and all them. Let's not forget them.
yeah,
Keep
yeah,
keep that keep their legacy alive. Don't be
yeah,
forgotten. Is I think the one thing that when tragedy happens in sports, we'd like to keep that alive. So I do. Again, I want to, also I'll say thoughts and prayers to his family and to all the Chippewa fans, the faithful, and everyone that got a chance to listen to him. That's very hard, tragic, man. That's okay, brother. You can. That's fine with me, man. What else? What else you got?
I don't know. It was a tough weekend, I gotta say. Pretty tough weekend.
It was, yeah. I think we talked about the Michigan game, and uh, the Patriots, brother. I don't know, man. We
Yeah,
can't move the football on offense. We are struggling, and it shows. It
yeah, it
shows, man.
does. It
Brady's
it's it
frustrated, and it's not good right now. It is not good.
going into going into the weekend. I wasn't as nervous as I am now.
Yeah,
Kansas City is going to be a huge test.
correct.
Not to say that I don't have faith. We'll still make the playoffs. I'm not worried about that. But
Right.
you know, and I will say on a positive note, you know, the Ravens aren't world beaters. They can be beat. Um,
Yep. Yes, they
I
can.
didn't like I didn't like how San Francisco played the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter. I thought they were
Okay.
too conservative on offense. I thought that they should
Right.
have got after the Ravens defense. I know the weather was a little bit against them, but
Mhm.
I thought that they were kind of tepid, if you will, in the last
Right.
8-10 minutes of the ball game. I thought they should
Mhm.
have done more to get after that Ravens defense. Um,
Right.
they that Ravens offense only managed to put up 20 points. So I don't know if the weather had anything to do with that. Um, I don't or how much it had to do with that, or if the
Mhm.
San Francisco defense is that good. Um, but to me, it's like, okay, the Ravens can be beat. Obviously, they've already been beaten twice, so they're not invincible. Lamar Jackson looks like an MVP candidate, right up there with Russell Wilson. Um,
Right.
you were saying that I heard you talking about the Ron Rivera deal, and that
Yes.
caught me by surprise. I did not see that coming. Um, I thought that he would stick around at least through the end of the year. Um, Now, I think that that's going to hurt Keenan Allen's development.
Mhm.
Is his name? What's his name? Not Keenan.
Kyle.
I forget his first name.
Kyle.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that could hurt his development because we've seen that happen before with young quarterbacks who go
Mhm.
through 2 or 3 coaches and
And-
coordinators, and they can
Right.
never really recover from that. So
Right.
I think that I don't know. And then because they're going to bring in a new head coach, and the speculation is going to be Harbaugh. Now I don't know
I I'll be
because
honest with you.
because
I'll be honest with you, bud, about that. It would, to me, it would take a heck of a lot to get him out of Michigan. I
it
know.
would take a lot to get him out of Ann Arbor.
I
Uh,
know. A
pending
lot
the
of the
bowl game.
want him gone
If
because he can't do Ohio State. So I know that. That's the knock against him is he's 0-5 against the Buckeyes. So that's the
Right.
knock. But that doesn't mean that he's a bad coach. It just means
No.
at the present time, he doesn't have the personnel to beat the Buckeyes. Now, that may
Right.
happen next year because remember, Ohio State's going to lose. They'll lose.
26.
They're going to lose a lot of players to the NFL. So, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen next season?
I've thought a lot about the game and about what happened in the game and, trying to figure out what we can do differently.
Right.
And I really want to take us back to about the 8-minute mark of the fourth quarter, down by 2 touchdowns, down by 15. It was 42-27 at that point. And we had 4th and 1. And I think we just don't have an identity on offense. I think that's the biggest bugaboo right now. And I would like to see Josh Gates stay on for another year. See what he can do when he has a full year of he's had a full year of coaching the offense, and plus another spring game and a couple of easy games in the early part of the season to see where are we at? We got a new quarterback coming in next year. We'll move on from Shea Patterson, and I don't understand. What I don't understand is why on 4th and 1, deep in our own territory, absolutely have to have the first down. We go Wildcat. That just doesn't make any sense to me because it hasn't worked all year. It's been minimal games. It's never been a big banger. And if you go back early in the fourth quarter, they ran a pretty traditional off-tackle counter trap play, and it went for 30. And what I don't understand is why we didn't do more of that throughout the course of the game, especially as the Ohio State defense began to wear down. And so that's my biggest question is we try to be too cute. We try to catch them off guard, and it doesn't work. And then they blew the play up, and it was a 2-yard loss, and then it got out of hand. I honestly think that the scoreboard is deceiving because they scored their 49th and 56 points all came in garbage time, basically, once the game was more than well decided. When we didn't get the first down on 4th down, the game was pretty much over at that point. And so, to me, the real final or the real score was 42-27. And so, I think there's things, and going 4 for 19 in the second half, and some of the defensive miscues, but building for next year, and in taking, and being able to take away some things, and the fact that, it's all about continuing to build the program back up. And you look at some of the other programs around the country that are struggling right now. USC is 7-5, and Alabama's got a pair of losses, and Oklahoma lost to K-State, and all these vaunted blue blood programs that are still there's only a handful of teams in the country that managed to go undefeated all year.
Yep.
And having wins against Iowa and Notre Dame and Michigan State and blowing out Indiana, a team that we've struggled against for the last 4 or 5 years, those are things that I'm like, okay, we may not be where we want to be, but I can see how we can get to where we want to go, and staying the course and continuing to grow as a program it's about continuing. It's about not making not making change for the sake of change. Oh, we've got to do something different. Because that's where I think that a lot of we're not beating Ohio State, okay, but no one's beating Ohio State.
Right.
And,
well, I mean, I think we all kind of hope of Wisconsin, but I don't think that's going to happen this Saturday either. So
I don't know how it could happen, but then again, they got to line up and play the game.
Correct.
As I've said, more times than I have not. Mm-hmm. They don't play the games on paper, and if Taylor has a chance to come out and show NFL scouts one more time before he goes on, because I think he's a senior this year.
Yep.
That why he should be considered for the number 1 overall pick. And if you can do some of the little things, if you can take away one of their options, if you can take away Fields, or you can take away Dobbs, and make them one-dimensional, make them have to rely on one thing, and they can't throw and run the ball at the same time. I think Ohio State can be beaten.
Yes.
But again, it's one of those. Will it happen? Probably not. But can it happen?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we were talking about last week. And I think before I went off, we were talking about the Florida State game. And I had said that, I thought the Gators were going to dominate, and it ended up being that way. But I wasn't, hey, we don't play the games on paper. So, there's still a chance in the back of your mind thinking, in Florida State, we got up 7-0. They drove down and got, and I'm like, oh, here we go. This game's going to be more than I thought. And then we blew it up after that. I apologize, but too, I want to apologize to you. You wanted to get on the other day or Monday about USF. So now I'm going to give you the floor. What did you want to talk to me about the Bulls?
I've been thinking a lot about USF because, you've turned me on to the Bulls. You made me a big Bulls fan.
I appreciate that.
Just by being in the, and they're like, they're like the Central Michigan of Florida, like Eastern and Central and Western, the under the radar team. And I was on Facebook the other day watching your show, and one thing that jumped out at me, because I watched the beginning of the game, and then when you're like, I can't watch this anymore, I was like, yeah, I'm right there with you. This is getting ugly.
Yep, it was ugly early.
They showed a graphic at the beginning of the game, and it showed me that recruiting in Florida wasn't the problem for USF. The problem with recruiting was the fact that they weren't getting anyone from outside of Florida. So what they had is they had table scraps. Your 4- and 5-star players are not going to USF, and you have to know that. Okay, you have to accept that fact. Florida, they're going to Florida. They're going to Florida State. They're going to go to Alabama. They're going to go to Georgia. They're going to go Clemson. Those places that they're going to come to Ohio State. They're going to go to places where you're going to have a chance to be seen on national television and be in the national conversation.
Absolutely.
And like I said on your show the other day, it's like, okay, I was just about 7-8 years ago, and when I was in looking at colleges. No, I wasn't an athlete or anything at the time. Not that I am now, but if I was a young man living in northern Michigan, and Charlie Strong happened to come up there, or whoever the head coach happened to be, or let's say it's now, let's say the new head coach comes in, he's got to start looking at places like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Maine, Idaho, those places that are cold during the fall, and going up there and saying, hey, we're in South Florida, we're in Tampa Bay, we're by Miami. There's beautiful women, there's warm beaches, it's nice all year round. Come down here, and I'm not saying that he's going to steal a 4 or 5-star recruit from Michigan, away from Michigan or Ohio State or Michigan State.
Yeah.
But he's not getting a 3-star. He's not getting 3-star recruits out of Florida, right?
Right.
So what's the harm in jumping on a plane and coming up to Traverse City in August and going to TC Central, the Traverse City Central, or Traverse City West, and sitting in a game and talking to some of the coaches and the players and saying, hey, this is South Florida, pitching South Florida, because obviously he's not getting the talent that he needs in Florida. 91 players on the team from Florida, and you're 4-7, 4-8, not making bowl games, going from a team 15 years ago that was the number 2 team in the country.
Correct.
And